This program is brought to you by Real Estimate, Australia's #1 property value estimate. Get your Real Estimate today on realestate.com.au.
Thanks for being with us here on Business Now. Well, let's go through the property markets and particularly the auction markets around the country. Nationally, 1,237 auctions and the clearance rate nudging down to around 56.6%. So just a little weaker than a month or so ago. In Sydney, 614 auctions. The clearance rate here, you can see a tick over 57%. In Melbourne, though, it was grand final day. Generally, that's a really bad day to put your home up for auction. So there were only 170 auctions there and the clearance rate just under 58%. In Brisbane, just 56 auctions and around 57% of them were sold. Adelaide, though, much stronger. It's been the strongest market over the course of the past 6 months at least. 63 auctions and the clearance rate, you can see there's 73%. And in Canberra, 56 auctions, the clearance rate just a tick under 70%. But despite the weekend housing markets, one thing is clear. Most markets have recovered and are either at or are close to fresh peaks. REA Group's PropTrack says average prices across the capital cities are ahead 4.3% this year. Anne Flaherty is an economist with REA Group and joins me now. Anne, always good to have you on the program. This is the big issue, isn't it? Because home prices, home values are rising. People can see the peaks in interest rates. They're prepared to actually go and borrow and put the money up to buy these properties as they hit the market.
That's right. Of course, we did see prices decline last year when interest rates started rising, but they've now fully recovered in most markets, and nationally property prices are now at the highest levels we've ever seen.
Okay, so that being the case, is there any capital cities, we noted Adelaide there, for example, that stand out as compared with other markets? I mean, some have recovered faster than others. Others really haven't been much off their peaks for quite some time.
That's right. We do see a bit of variation across the states and, of course, within the states. Perth has been the real outperformer over September. Property prices were up 0.7% there. Adelaide and Sydney followed closely as the second best performing cities. So we have now peaks in Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane. Sydney is just a tiny smidge below its peak level. It's going to surpass that within a month. But of course, there are other areas like Melbourne and regional Victoria where we've actually seen property prices continue to slow. So prices in Melbourne are still sitting around 5% below their peak levels.
Okay, so with these record prices that have come back, is there any evidence as to whether these are home buyers or whether they're investors that are taking up these properties and creating this demand?
Well, we are seeing more interest from a wide range of buyer types. Predominantly, it's your subsequent home buyer, so someone who may be upsizing or downsizing. We did start to see investor interest pick up again as well. Of course, for first home buyers, actually, it's more difficult than ever to break into the market. Property prices are at peaks, which means they need to save very high deposits. But interest rates are still really high, which means that they can borrow less and their monthly repayments are higher. So they're disproportionately disadvantaged in the current market.
Okay, then take me to whether this is about freestanding homes or whether it's about apartments, which seems to be driving the market right now. We're talking about home values in totality, but of course there are different segments of those.
Well, actually, we're seeing both house prices and unit prices drive growth. Traditionally, house prices have outperformed units for capital growth, but we're now really starting to see a shortage of units. Now, this comes down to the fact that units are typically more complicated to develop, and so the challenges we've seen in the development sector have disproportionately hit the unit market. Now, with more people coming to Australia, that's increasing demand to rent units. And what that's doing is it's taking up some of that supply. So we're seeing a real shortage of both houses and units now.
And that's interesting, given the government's plan to try and build 1.2 million extra homes over the 5 years from June 30 or July 1 next year. It really is in a situation as to where these homes are going to be built and whether that has any impact on the future trajectory of prices as well.
Well, that's right. It's absolutely critical that we do what we can to increase housing supply, but it's also critical that that new housing stock, those new unit developments, are where people want to live. They have to be close to jobs and infrastructure. So we know that when people move to Australia, they're most likely to live in or around inner city areas. So that's really where we need to start seeing the biggest increases in supply.
Anne Flaherty from REA Group. Always good to chat to you. Many thanks for your time today.
Thank you.